Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Ruby the Elite. Today we are featuring my 2007 Yamaha Morphous. And this is a big deal for me. This is my first Yamaha in an all Honda garage. So what I went ahead and did was I shined her all up with some rubbing compound, spent a few hours on the outside of the bike to make her look pretty for her first video. Now, this particular paint color, it may change in the future as well as there might be some small cosmetic differences. So I wanted you to see what she looks like with her black paint all shined up with the plastics and everything looking pretty, because it might not look like this in the future. I'm not going to say what I'm going to do, but today we are going to focus only on removing the rear tire and along the way replacing the air filter. We're not going to do a full walk around on this bike until everything is done. All the maintenance, all the cosmetic changes I plan to do, once they're done, I'll do a full walk around video. But I wanted you to see her look all pretty and shiny at least one time the way I bought her. But we're going to go ahead and take those plastics and everything off to do the rear tire. That's going to open the door for other maintenance videos since the panels will be off. So let's get started. All right, safety first. Let's remove these two screws that hold the front panel, as well as two screws on either side for the windscreen. And then once you take those off, you just push the panel down and then you can get it off. And that way you can remove the terminals from the battery so you don't get zapped later on. Pretty important step, because there is a few places that you have to unplug some wiring. So let's make sure we get that out of the way first. We need to remove the storage. There is 4 screws that hold this one on, and then it just pulls right off the top. And once we get that out of the way, there's another 2 screws right here and 1 underneath this mat, and that will allow us to also pull this storage bin off. And after that, we'll have a clean view of the engine and everything else. And you just remove these top screws, and that will give you access to the air filter. Now that they're removed, there is 1 screw on the inside, and then the whole filter will come out in one piece. And after removing the 1 screw and doing a little bit of jiggling to get it out, it finally did come out. You can see it's pretty dirty, definitely worth replacing. Now, the Yamaha version of this was $42. Instead, I paid $24 for this MGO version. MGO is a good company. I've used them before. Actually, the filter on Ruby was made by MGO. And the only difference I can see between these two is that there's yellow sponge on the outer edges on the original compared to black on the MGO version. And everything else looks identical. So I think it's worth the $20 savings just to use the MGO instead. And very easily it goes back in place with the 1 screw. And then we'll just discard the old one. And that'll take care of the first thing that we're replacing today, which, again, the air filter. Made by MGO. And the part number, just in case you wish to use this instead of the Yamaha part. And I even started wiping it up a bit. You know, old habits never die. I got to clean it up too. Now the first part of many to remove in order to get to that rear tire. There's a couple of screws that you actually have to lay on the floor in order to remove. Then once you do, you can remove that back fairing. Next thing we're going to do is remove the passenger rubber so we can get to a screw right there. And now we'll take off the rubbers for the driver. Once we do, that'll give us access to the 4 screws that have to be removed in order to get this side plastic off, the foot plastic. And you're going to see there's 3 that are right here. And then there's 1 in the very front of the bike beyond there that you have to take off. And then also you've got one right here. Nice, all the same screws. Do the same thing on the other side. Once you remove them, it comes off very easy. You just do a little bit of light pulling on these little tabs, and eventually it comes completely off with no problem. And one actually goes into this little piece at the end. Just takes a little bit of work moving it back and forth, and eventually it will come off. And you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. On the bottom of each one of these side panels, there's a couple of push rivets as well. I wanted to show you that. Little plastic ones. I'm on the left side of the bike right now, just showing you how easy it is to get this panel off just by putting a little pressure on each one of these tabs. And over time, it will loosen up. Just a little bit of pressure and you can see how it starts to come off. And then finally you'll be able to pull it with your hands the rest of the way. There is a little rubber knob that goes into this hole at the end that you'll have to put a little bit more pressure in order to get that off, but no big deal. Just make sure that you keep all of the square installation pieces, otherwise you won't be able to screw it back in. Now we'll go ahead and remove the plastic that's got the Morphous emblem on it. There's a screw that's right there. On the bottom there's a couple of those push rivets, and then on the back we also have a screw right here. And then finally on the very top we also have a screw right here, and then there's going to be one more for us, and it's a push rivet right there. There's one on each side. So you'll do the exact same on the left side. And after I removed them out of the trunk, you could see that there's two different types. They should be the same, so that's a good indication that somebody's removed this in the past. Alright, now that we've removed the rivets and the screws, the side panel comes off very easy. And you can see that it's quite dirty under here. Got a lot of cleaning to do. And let's stand back here and just take a look. We still got to take the trunk off, the exhaust, the shock, the swing arm, but just wanted to show you how far we've come. We just removed 4 bolts that held on the backrest / grab handle. Very easy and self-explanatory on how that came out. No big deal. And now we're going to disconnect the brake as well as the turn signal cables. And that is all color coded, very easy, so you know where to plug it back in. Now we've got 2 big bolts on each side that we have to remove. And finally, there's 2 more screws that are connected to this cooling duct for your brakes. And then the whole thing comes off in one big piece, making it pretty easy. Just showing you how nice and clean it is under here. You can see the one place that I wiped off where the air filter is. That's what it looks like when it's wiped. So we're going to do a little bit of cleaning here, no big deal, but just wanted to show you we're going to take on the exhaust next. And we got to take this little plastic off along with the brake. Got to remove these bolts on the shock. Probably don't have to remove the top one, just the bottom. And then we'll have to take the fender and move it a little out of the way. No big deal. So we just removed, there's one screw that holds this on. It's a little duct that helps to cool the brakes. So there's just one screw. I put some tape on it to hold it together. But now we're going to take the exhaust off. There's a bolt there, another bolt right there. Now I can see it with the camera. And then we got to disconnect it here. There's one screw. And then also right up here as well. As we go, we're just taking a look at some of these clamps and hoses. I'm just looking to see if there's any cuts or any rips in any of them. We have the exhaust off now. It was very easy to remove. Just a few bolts held it on. And then this hose here was disconnected, as well as the one along the bottom that goes into the jug. Now we're going to go ahead and concentrate further on the swing arm by removing the bolt for the shock. We only have to remove it on the bottom, and the top we can leave connected. Now on to this plastic piece, which goes right into the swing arm, and there's a total of 3 bolts that hold this on, and then this whole piece of plastic comes off. And now we have to remove the bolts right here, which hold the brake onto the swing arm. We got to remove our big nut there, along with the 2 bolts right there. And make sure you got your impact wrench. It makes such an easy job of this. So we're going to pull the bolts out that we just loosened. And we got one more bolt under there. We've got a bolt that connects the swing arm to the fender that we need to remove. And then this actual swing arm, it clips underneath here. So it took me a minute to figure out why it wasn't coming off, and it's just because it sits underneath the airbox. So keep that in mind. And now that we have that off, we can pull the tire out. We just need to remove this, and then finally, after all that work, the tire has been removed. And that was the most extensive amount of work to remove a rear tire. I wanted to share with you all the maintenance items I've purchased so far for the Morphous, starting with these Power Pure tires made by Michelin, real nice set, and highly rated tires. I have some Yamaha, both oil and coolant, a Yamaha oil filter, as well as strainer, brand new spark plug, brand new V-belt, some Prestone .4 for our brakes, and of course the MGO air filter. As you can see, I started to beautify the inside. You knew I was going to do that anyways. You know, I wanted to make sure our upcoming videos, everything looked nice and clean. You know, when we start to do some inspections or replace fluids or the spark plug, whatever it is, I just would prefer it look nice. There are still some areas like the brake and the wheel area. We still got to wipe that up. No big deal. You know, make the swing arm look nice and pretty. I wanted to mention to you that I also removed the front tire. I didn't show that in the video. It's just one long bolt. But the reason I did that was I took the rims along with my new tires over to my local Honda Yamaha dealer, and they just finished installing my brand new Michelin tires. I was so excited to have it done. I didn't mind paying the 1 hour labor. It's just much easier for them to do it. They've got the equipment that makes it easy where I don't. So I'm sure I could have installed these and muscled them on the floor, but I didn't want to do that. But we set out to install the air filter, which we accomplished, and we removed the rear tire, which we accomplished as well. I look forward to more maintenance videos in the near future, but that's going to do it for today. Please subscribe if you like my channel. Give me a thumbs up if you like my content, and I will see you real soon.